Hello again, everyone. Yeah, welcome back to what I've now decided to call this the first 15 coaching cast or coaching cast. Maybe I'll just go with that. But anyway, mostly because I'm talking about coaching in a variety of ways, not so much exercise, but yeah, more coaching. But yeah, so we're going to go with that because I'm a coach in many aspects in many ways. I think it's an appropriate title. In any case, today I'm going to talk a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about um, getting a individual skill trainer for youth athletes and club sports. And those of you that have been around the block a time or two with me already know my opinion, so buckle up. If you don't, hang on for the ride. So, first off, I want to talk, just hit a little bit on um, getting an individual skill trainer for an athlete for a particular sport. I think they're, I think for the most part, they have good intentions, but I also think they kind of rob people blind a little bit and they try to be more than they are. So here are my thoughts on it. And first, yes, I don't think that getting one is a bad idea if you have high aspirations in a sport. Most youth athletes have big aspirations in sports, or at least they start out that way. And to pursue them to the every limit that you possibly can means that you're probably gonna go out and hire one of these folks. Okay. Before you do that, here are three things that I would advise that three boxes I would advise that you tick. So let's check these three things off first. One, is the athlete playing more than one sport? At least two. So maybe a fall and a spring or a fall and a winter, something like that. And then make sure that they take the time off for the most part in the summer in terms of their actual sports. Because whether or not you realize that there are crossover benefits for either sport, depending on what you're doing. Um, I talked about this a couple times, but yeah, hand-eye coordination that comes from something like baseball is going to come in real handy for a sport like football, whether even though they're not really related, but it will work. It'll work out well, I promise. Just one example. So the athlete should be playing more than one sport. First off, that's the first box to tick. Second box to tick is the athlete getting proper strength and conditioning? Are they in a proper strength and conditioning program with a coach that is well versed in the field? Not, and I'm a rare example, and so I don't count. Not the coach of one of the teams. That most times that doesn't happen. I I am in that field and I practice it on top of the fact that I love coaching rugby. That is not a common thing. That is a rarity, I would say. So should you find your athlete is only on any sort of program where they're getting their strength and conditioning, their training advice from just a coach on the team, and they're not a practicing S&C coach, trainer, whatever the hell you want to put to it. I'd say that you need to ditch that and find your athlete some proper training at least 2 days a week. So there's that. And then lastly, this is the hardest part that people are going to have to understand. These athletes need time to recover. And I'm talking on a weekly, monthly basis, and also talking on a yearly basis. If they're, and this is why we're going to get into club sports too, if they're not having any downtime from sports in general during the year, you need to consider that first before you start booking in more time to their schedules. And I understand we want to keep kids busy. I was a kid that stayed very busy. I get it, but at the same time, proper recovery for in seasonal is necessary, but also weekly. If you're trying to squeeze an extra hour, 90 minutes out of an athlete, and it's already a jam-packed schedule for one reason or another, the advice I would give is pass. Pass. What you're doing already is probably going to be what they can handle for the moment. Should the schedule be become freer. Okay, now look at maybe an hour a week. And the reason that I'm saying okay to the skills coaches, to a point at least, is because I get that some of the sport coaches that are out there aren't very good, and they aren't trying to learn. They're just out, they're just there, and that's unfortunate, and that's not the athlete's fault. So they shouldn't suffer, and they should find ways to get better always, and that's one way to get better. With that, I would advise that if you come across your athletes, your young athletes, skills trainer, and they're trying to be more than that, with that, I would advise if your athletes, skills trainer, skills coach is trying to be more than that and trying to put them through conditioning drills, so on and so forth, timeout. They better be well versed. They better be someone that has practiced this and is actually doing it off some sort of science basis, and not because that's what they used to do, which is the freaking dumbest reason to do anything. I hate that. Just because I used to do it, and it worked then. Cool, it worked by accident probably at best, or something else was working and you credited it to that instead. So that's my point on that. Let's get into one of the previous points I made about recovery. Year-round sports sucks for athletes. Like, one, they need a gap time to recover and probably to get some proper training in. And I'm saying that from a strength and conditioning coach view, and that might make me biased, but it doesn't make it not true. Okay. Athletes need proper recovery time and some time to get themselves a little bit more resilient, a little bit more bulletproof, because the seasons are long and heavy and hard, and it sucks. Yeah, it's not good. It wears on them. It makes things hard on these young athletes, and they grow to hate certain sports, and they grow to hate sports in general sometimes, and that's no good. I don't see that as a positive by any way. Um, for example, I did have one of my rugby players a long time ago that was finding themselves constantly with injuries, like just nagging injuries like calf and hamstring. And one day she says, "Oh, I got to leave early." I'm like, "Why do you have to leave our practice early?" "Well, I have to go to club soccer." I'm like, "What?" Like, two sports in one season is absurd. Number one, I really just despise club soccer and club sports in general. So, and that's one of the reasons, as a coach of a school team, I do everything I can to take care of these players, and you know, getting hindered by another sport because you know that's what everyone else does, is pretty bothersome and also very dangerous. So, and we're also talking about things like overuse injuries and constant. If you're gonna constantly be using your soccer skills and the muscles that are used in soccer primarily, yeah, the chances are you're going to pick up something that you didn't want, and it could be a stress fracture, it could be a strain of a joint, it could be a pull of a muscle that's oft used. And again, if you haven't taken the time to recover, if you haven't taken the off season, if you haven't taken steps to make yourself more resilient, make your body more resilient, then you're going to continue to have these injuries and succumb to these injuries. And the athletes are going to continue to just wonder, like, oh man, especially like when they get to their school season, which for me mattered the most always. I'm playing club sports, but still, like, I know that the school seasons were the ones that were most important to me, just the same. And I know that was the same for my teammates that did play club sports. Those were the most important seasons. And so if you're run down and ragged before the club season, before the school season even starts, you wonder why they pick up an injury early and then go, "Ooh, I'm missing so much time in this year," and yikes, just yikes. That's hard, and especially those four high school years we have here, missing one of them because you picked up a hamstring injury that keeps you out for 6 weeks, and you got to recover for another two. That sucks. That's really hard emotionally and mentally on an athlete too. So all those reasons, are reasons that I dislike club sports and why you need to make sure that you check all the other boxes before you go get yourself your athlete a skills coach. You get all that taken care of, you get those done, we can talk about the skills coach and how they enter into the program and how they enter into the schedule and whether or not they're worth it. So that's what I have for you all today. I appreciate you all for listening to me when I babble into this thing, and I hope that I'll have to catch you all soon. And thank you once again. Have a good one, everyone.